Okay, so you know how sometimes it feels like we're carrying around all this like heavy stuff from our past?
Yeah, yeah.
Like invisible suitcases full of, old hurts and regrets and things like that.
Emotional baggage. We all have it.
Exactly, emotional baggage. And for this deep dive, we're going to unpack some ways to lighten that load, which I am so excited about.
Me too. This is a good one, especially since it's part of the Transform Your Well-Being series here at Motivate Lounge Coffee Shop Chat.
Exactly, transform your well-being. So, I was reading some of the stuff that you sent me, and it's amazing how much our past experiences, especially during like those tough times, can really affect our happiness now.
Oh, yeah, big time. And our relationships too.
Oh, for sure. It's like even when things are good, there's this like underlying tension sometimes.
Like you can feel it.
Hi.
One expert said this, and I thought it was so spot on.
Okay, lay it on me.
They said, so much of what shows up in the present has nothing to do with what we are experiencing right in front of us, especially when in relationships with others.
Ooh, that is good.
Right.
I mean, have you ever noticed that? Like you kind of react in a way that seems totally out of proportion to what's happening.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
It's like my past is like pushing buttons in the present,
Pushing buttons, yes. It's so true. I love this analogy that one of the experts used. They said, it's like we're trying to wear clothes from 20 years ago.
Ooh.
They just don't fit anymore.
No, they don't.
And that's what we're doing with this emotional baggage. We're trying to like squeeze into these old patterns and beliefs that don't serve us anymore.
It's so true. And speaking of squeezing into things, there's this concept of the suitcase heart.
Oh, yes. Love this.
Tell me about the suitcase heart.
So this one expert, they were talking about how it's like we're lugging around this suitcase
Okay.
filled with all these unresolved conflicts, old wounds, unmet needs.
Ooh, that's a heavy suitcase.
It is a heavy suitcase. So how do we unpack this thing? What can we actually do? Let's get practical.
Yes. Give me the steps, because I love a good plan.
Okay, let's do it. Well, we've got to start with self-awareness, right?
Okay.
We have to figure out what our patterns are, what triggers us, what are those things that set us off.
Just like we're shining a light on those like cobwebs in our mind.
Yes, exactly. Shining a light on those cobwebs. And how do we do that? Well, think about it this way. Imagine you're at work
Okay.
and a coworker makes just a small, even harmless comment, but for some reason it makes you disproportionately angry.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, you realize, that actually reminded me of a way that my parents used to criticize me when I was a kid.
That's so interesting. So by paying attention to those like really strong reactions,
Yeah.
we can kind of start to trace them back.
Exactly. And then comes the hard part, acceptance and forgiveness.
Ugh, forgiveness.
Yeah.
That always sounds so much easier said than done. Like, what if someone really hurt you and they aren't even sorry?
Yeah.
How do you forgive then?
It's so hard. And honestly, forgiveness isn't really about them. It's about you letting go of the anger and pain that they caused. It doesn't mean what they did was okay.
Yeah.
But it's about freeing yourself from carrying that burden.
I'm starting to see it differently now. It's like holding on to that resentment is only hurting me.
Yes.
It's not hurting them.
It's not. And sometimes to even get to that point of forgiveness, you have to process your emotions.
Okay.
And that's where journaling comes in.
Journaling. Oh, I love journaling. It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
Yes. And it can be super cathartic to just like pour out all those thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Without judgment, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, my mind is racing so fast, it's hard to even put those thoughts into words. Any tips for that?
Yes, mindfulness and meditation can be game changers for that.
Oh, okay.
They help you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings in the present moment without getting swept away by them.
So it's like instead of trying to force myself to journal when my mind is chaotic, maybe some quiet time first.
Exactly. Mindfulness can be as simple as like taking a few deep breaths and noticing the sensations in your body. It helps create space between you and your thoughts.
I love that. Creating space.
Yeah.
And speaking of space, one of the tips I was most surprised by was the connection between physical activity and letting go.
Oh, yeah.
It's so true, though. After a good workout, I always feel so much lighter emotionally.
It's like a magic reset button. Exercise releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals, and helps you literally shake off the stress. And it doesn't have to be some intense gym session.
No.
Even a walk in nature can do wonders.
You know what? That outdated clothes analogy really hit home for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking about a pattern in my relationships that just doesn't fit anymore, but I keep trying to make it work.
We've all been there.
What are some other ways we can start to ditch those old, ill-fitting patterns?
Well, building a solid support system is crucial.
Okay, support system.
Surround yourself with people who lift you up, encourage you to grow. Think of it as like having a team of cheerleaders for your emotional well-being.
That's so important. Having people you can trust, confide in, makes all the difference.
It does. And when you're trying to make changes, it's like having backup when you're facing those old patterns.
Yes, back up.
So important. And don't underestimate the power of expressing yourself creatively.
Oh, creatively.
Yeah, whether it's through music, art, dance, writing, tapping into your creative side can help you process emotions in a whole new way.
It reminds me of that time I took up painting after a tough breakup.
Oh, nice.
And, it wasn't about creating masterpieces or anything. It was just about getting those feelings out.
Yes. It's not about being good at it. It's about finding a healthy outlet for those emotions.
Exactly.
And sometimes we need a little boost of positivity to help shift those negative thought patterns.
Okay, tell me more.
That's where affirmations and positive self-talk can be super helpful.
I think some people think affirmations are a bit cheesy, but I have actually found them really helpful.
They can be powerful.
It's like rewiring your brain for a more positive outlook.
It is. It's challenging those old negative stories we tell ourselves and replacing them with more empowering ones.
So we've got self-awareness, acceptance, journaling, mindfulness, exercise, building a support system, and affirmations.
What else can we add to our emotional decluttering toolkit?
Ooh, good question. Let's see. One that's often overlooked is setting healthy boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
So important.
But they can be so hard to set up sometimes.
They can, especially with people we care about. It can be hard to say no,
It is.
but learning to protect your emotional well-being
Yes.
by saying no when necessary and creating distance from people or situations that drain your energy, that's crucial.
It's about recognizing that you deserve to be treated with respect.
Yes.
And your needs are important too.
Absolutely. And speaking of recognizing what's important, let's talk about gratitude.
Gratitude.
Even when things are tough, focusing on what you're grateful for can have such a huge impact on your emotional state. It's like that saying, gratitude turns what we have into enough. But, I'll admit, I've tried gratitude journals before, and sometimes it felt a little forced. Any tips for making it feel more genuine?
Yeah. Instead of trying to come up with big things, focus on the small, simple things that you appreciate. Like a warm cup of coffee in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
A funny text from a friend or the sound of birds singing.
Ooh, those are good. It's about appreciating those little moments of joy that we often take for granted.
Exactly. And one last strategy that I find incredibly powerful is connecting with nature.
Nature.
Spending time outdoors, whether it's a walk in the park or a hike in the woods, can be so grounding and restorative.
It's like a reset button for your emotions.
It is. It helps you connect to something bigger than yourself and remember that your problems aren't the whole world.
This has been so insightful.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's even more to explore.
Oh, there is. We have a couple more powerful strategies to discuss. So stay tuned. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into letting go of emotional baggage and creating space for a lighter, brighter future.
All right, so before the break, you were about to share a couple more powerful strategies for ditching the emotional baggage. I'm all ears.
Okay, well, this one might surprise you. Have you ever considered, volunteer work?
Volunteering. Interesting. I've always found that helping others makes me feel better. There's just something about it,
It's true. When we shift our focus outward and contribute to something bigger than ourselves, it can be incredibly fulfilling. Plus, it takes our minds off our own problems for a while, which, let's face it, is a welcome break sometimes.
Right. It's like that saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Exactly. And sometimes, even with all these great strategies we've talked about, we still might need a little extra help to really let go of those deep-seated emotional wounds.
You mean like professional help?
Exactly. Seeking guidance from a therapist or counselor can give us personalized tools and strategies to work through those tough emotions.
That's so true. I think there's still sometimes a stigma around therapy, But it's so important. It's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's a sign of strength to recognize when you need support.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely no shame in seeking professional help when you need it.
Totally. It's like having a coach, but for your emotional well-being,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Self-awareness, acceptance, journaling, mindfulness, exercise, building that strong support system, getting creative, affirmation, setting those boundaries, gratitude, connecting with nature, giving back to others through volunteering, and even seeking professional help. Phew. It's like a whole emotional decluttering toolkit.
It is. And the cool thing is, we have choices. We can pick and choose what works best for us, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
So with all these tools and strategies, what difference does it really make? Why should our listeners even care about letting go of this emotional baggage?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And I think the answer is in the benefits. Imagine feeling lighter, freer, more connected to yourself and others.
It's like taking a huge breath after being underwater for too long.
Exactly. It's like finally unpacking those suitcases and realizing, you know what? I don't need all this stuff anymore. One expert put it this way. What if letting go of the old stuff means we are making room for what really matters to us?
Oh, that's good. Making room for what matters.
And that same expert had another really thought-provoking question.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
What if what really matters to us has changed over time, and we need to slow down and recognize how our values have shifted?
Whoa. That's deep. And so true. It's a reminder to check in with ourselves and make sure we're living in alignment with who we are now, not who we were in the past.
Exactly. Letting go isn't just about releasing the past, it's also about making room for new possibilities.
I love that. It's about evolving, growing, becoming the best versions of ourselves. It's about embracing change and stepping into the unknown with a lighter heart.
And remember, it's a process, not a destination. Small steps.
Like choosing just one thing from that metaphorical suitcase to let go of today.
Exactly. One limiting belief, a past hurt, a negative thought pattern, maybe even a grudge you've been holding on to. Ask yourself, what single item in your suitcase heart can you choose to release today? What would it feel like to finally let that go?
Such a powerful question. I think it's a perfect place to pause and reflect. We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive on emotional baggage and leave our listeners with one final thought to carry with them.
Motivate Lounge is your go-to YouTube channel for personal growth, motivation, and a positive mindset. We provide powerful motivational talks, proven success strategies, and practical tools to help you overcome challenges and unlock your full potential. We'd love for you to be part of our growing community. Subscribing is completely free, and it helps us continue bringing you even more valuable content. If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with friends who could use some inspiration. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Now, let's dive back into the podcast.
Welcome back to Motivate Lounge Coffee Shop Chat. After exploring all these ways to let go of emotional baggage, I'm feeling lighter already.
Yeah, me too. It's like we've done some major mental and emotional decluttering right here in the cafe, all part of our Transform Your Wellbeing series, right?
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways you want listeners to remember?
Well, first, I want to emphasize that having emotional baggage, it's totally normal. Like, it's part of being human.
They've all got stuff. Exactly. The key is to not let it, run the show. Don't let it hold us back from living a good life.
We have the power to choose how we respond to those experiences and create a brighter future.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember all those great strategies we talked about, like self-awareness and acceptance, journaling and mindfulness, exercise.
Oh, and building a support system, expressing ourselves creatively, those boundaries, gratitude, connecting with nature. So many good ones.
And don't forget, if you're feeling stuck, a therapist can be a huge help.
So true. There's no shame in asking for help. It's a sign of strength to reach out for that support when you need it.
Couldn't agree more.
What I'm taking away from all this is that letting go is it's an ongoing process. It's not about being perfect overnight.
No, it's about those small steps, being patient with ourselves and celebrating those little wins.
I love how you said earlier that what if instead of seeing emotional baggage as this burden, we see it as an opportunity for growth and change?
Yeah. What if those tough experiences actually helped to make us stronger, more resilient? They shaped us into who we are.
That's such a good way to look at it. It's about finding the lessons, the growth, instead of letting those things define us.
So as you go about your day, think about that. Embrace letting go. Explore the strategies that resonate with you. See what happens when you lighten that load.
Love that. And remember, you can find more in our Transform Your Wellbeing series right here at Motivate Lounge Coffee Shop Chat. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on letting go.
That's a wrap for today's Motivate Lounge Coffee Shop Chat, where inspiration meets action. Keep chasing your goals and stay motivated. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and share Motivate Lounge on YouTube.